if you like, I could...
With connecting X-Plane 12 to Ardupilot in a more, well, getting hold of the VTOLs, I suppose. That's about it, isn't it, Andrew?
Yeah, a little more than that. So this is something I didn't realize I was coming on the show this morning until like 5 minutes ago. And I only started on this effort towards X-Plane 12 just before bed last night. So, and I haven't even had my second coffee this morning. So I'm just sort of, anyway, it's a little premature, but I'm happy to show the development process. And I'm actually hoping that maybe one or two of the listeners or Bruce or someone else who might be more familiar with X-Plane than I am might be able to give a hand. So if you like, I could share my screen and show you the sort of thing I'm trying to do. Would that work?
Yes, let's see if I can. Bruce, you might have to. Well, let's see. Let's see if we can see.
Okay, let's see if I can.
But I'm on mobile, so I don't know.
Is that coming up?
Can you see?
Getting a screen there? And I probably need to turn off my video, or do I have video at the same time? How does that work?
No, it might be that this is the wrong time to be doing this. Oh, Bruce is muted as well. So.
No, there you go. There's something coming up.
Picture. Oh, look. Oh, well done, Bruce. He's earning his pay.
Yes. Oh, he's muted though. Thanks, Bruce.
Well, that's okay. We don't need to hear him.
All right. It's all right. So, I'm just pushing the wrong buttons. It's fine.
Excellent. So let me introduce a little bit about some of this stuff with X-Plane. So Ardupilot supported X-Plane for donkey's years, ages, and so sort of X-Plane 9, 10, 11. I bought X-Plane 12 yesterday at the urging of Gary. He mentioned it on Facebook that there was some cool new aircraft and worth trying X-Plane. So the one I think that got Gary's interest in particular and mine is this quadplane Alia, which is a VTOL urban transport thingamabob. So 4 vertical rotors and a forward, and they've got a demo of how to fly it in X-Plane manually. And I was actually it was a bit odd when I saw them fly. They're basically, they've got a joystick button for raising forward throttle and lowering forward throttle, and then you've got the main throttle stick controls, vertical like a quadcopter. The odd part about it is, it's not really doing transitions and things properly. So hopefully we can get Ardupilot flying it properly. But the real trick is, up till now, Ardupilot has controlled X-Plane using these methods, this sort of thing that sends data using these structures, and what's called the main, like Alia and elevator rudder, is using the flight con for flight control, and then it does a little bit of extra things for these DREFs for flaps, but really it's all based on these sort of structured methods from the very, very early days of X-Plane. So what I'm switching to is a new method where we define this JSON file that provides the mapping between what's called a DREF, a data ref, and a channel for Ardupilot. So this first one is saying that I'm going to attach this data ref in X-Plane to an angular input ranging over plus or minus 45, that's going to be in degrees, from channel 1, from one of the ailerons. And what you need to do to understand this stuff is to use this wonderful little tool in X-Plane. There's a plugin, and this plugin is the data ref tool. And so within the data ref tool, you can do searches. So I can look for everything with, the substring THRO in it. And then, I don't know if you can see it clearly, you can see all the things that are changing. So I've set it up, this little button, to say only show me the data refs that are changing. If I turn that off, and I get rid of this, you can see that there are 9,632 data refs. So basically every little component of this aircraft, 9,600 names of things that one can twiddle. But some of them are things you can actually input, and some of them are just outputs. and it doesn't really distinguish between the two. So that's my first puzzle for your listeners. Does anyone know of a way of knowing for certain whether a particular data ref is one that you can actually twiddle and change, or is it only just like a status? Because, you know, we need to winnow down, we need to create this file for each aircraft, like the Alia. And I've had a go just in the last 1 minute when Gary said I might be joining. This is the sort of thing we need to do for the VTOL motors, right? So this is, if we have a look here and we look for THRO, and if I disconnect Ardupilot, so Ardupilot's no longer involved, and I say, only show me ones that are changing, and now I start raising the throttle. You see the rotors start spinning in the background? There's the rotors spinning. And you can see here that various data refs start changing, right? And you can see that these ones are about, I'm about quarter throttle, and these ones here are at 0.25 or so, 4 of them, and there's 4 rotors on this thing. And so maybe the one you need to use is sim flight model engine ENGN underscore THRO, right? So what you do is you copy that name and you bring it across and you put it in the JSON like this, and Ardupilot will then map that onto channels 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is the channels for VTOL motors, right? Now, maybe I can then make that actually control those rotors. As I said, it's the first time I've actually tried this, and I was just flying this as a cub, which means channel 5 is actually flaps at the moment. Servo 5, so I'm going to change Servo 5 function back to being a motor, and so now I've got a quad plane with 4 motors on, actually I better check channel 6, it was also a flap, so channel 6 is going to be 34. All right, I've now got channels 5, 6, 7, and 8 for quad plane motors. So why don't we try something crazy and see if we can run a motor test? And the chances of this working, and so this is now, that should send output to each of these motors internal. All I need to do is lower that throttle down, and then I'm hoping, is it actually, they're not still those motors, but what I'll do instead, servo, let me just graph what I'm putting out to these servos.
For those that don't know, Tridge in the Ardupilot community is legendary for solving stuff during.
Well, yeah. Hey, I reckon they're turning. I reckon they might be turning. I reckon, but I think it's fighting it. I think we've got. See, they're sort of stuttering.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What I suspect is happening is that it's taking input from both the joystick and from my control. So I probably need to set, you've got these funny things called overrides, right? So if we look for all the overrides, and if I look for the non-changing overrides, there are 79 overrides available in this model, right? So these are things that where you're saying, so there's a thing called override engines, override control surfaces, override joystick. So I'm going to try override, I'm going to put in both override engines and override throttles, right? And then I'm going to see whether if I mark those as override, hey, it's spinning. It's spinning.
The rear motor's going as well.
Yeah, ignore that. All right. So what I'll do is I'll put it back to normal. And now, which way do they spin? Is it? Let's see. The front left one is clockwise. It looks like front right one is counterclockwise. All right. Yeah. So let's go for broke. Let's arm it. You know, I think this might be the end of this poor little aircraft. We're likely to end up with an inferno. So
I know they've got a Lewis script running in there in X-Plane too.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that yet. Yeah, I noticed that, but haven't looked at it. So what I'm now doing is
I should be.
Well, it's only putting on a small amount of power. Why am I putting on so little power there when I'm going to put it into Q stabilize mode. So and now it's just going to go up to full throttle there. So it's only put it up to like 1800 or so. And it's not, you do obviously need a lot of power to get up there. And notice it's jittering around like crazy. My graphics is obviously quite unhappy there. So why is that only getting to 1800 or so in Q stabilize mode? And let's see.
Even to everyone that I'm not responding to in the comments, I can't. For some reason, it doesn't always let me respond when I'm on the mobile version. So
there is a. So this is the problem with doing, live demo and development. It sort of doesn't work. So I get the idea. So basically, we need to work out, and I do have a working one for the Cub. So just before bed last night, I got the Cub going. Right. So X-Plane Cub, I got this working by overriding 2 ailerons, a vertical stab, and it's very inconsistent, right? The ailerons are called Model 2 wing aileron 1 degree. The elevator is not, there is a variable called elevator 1 degree, and logically you would think it would use elevator 1 degree, but no, it doesn't. It uses sim model controls HSTAB1 ELV1 def, and it's not an array. Yeah. And then the same with the rudder. And it's just, I would love it if there's one of your listeners who knows a lot about X-Plane can put me on the straight and narrow regarding why these things are just such a mess. And then the gear, right? On some models, it's treated as like a steering control. On this one, it's tire steer actual degree. And then the flaps are under a different scheme again. And so it's the inconsistency between models that really gets me. Let's just try and let's force the thing to put on throttle just so we can get a fiery crash. What I'm going to do is put PWM min. So all rotors are going to be at least 1800 and 1900. Let's see if it's, so it should be putting on, okay. That should be putting out, what are we getting in those throttle? What are we overriding on the Alia? Let's see. ENGN underscore throttle. We are giving them 0.9999. Maybe it goes above 1. Maybe we need to, let's give it range 2 so it can go double, or maybe we need to control the RPM directly. So I'll reboot Ardupilot to reread that little JSON file. And so now it should be outputting 2 to all of these motors, and they are spinning. I wonder if we're spinning in the right direction. Maybe you have to actually put a negative. Maybe we might be forcing it down towards the ground.
I think there's an obvious solution. We just need more parameters in Ardupilot.
Oh, indeed. That's right. The 1200, or in fact, you can have over 2000 if you enable all the features.
There are some really good delivery drone parameters about to hit the streets. The handbrake. Chris says take the handbrake off. Yeah, that's right.
That's a possibility, actually.
I don't think it is. It's not in my experience.
It doesn't need it.
It's not. No,
it could be collective pitch. It could be that you're supposed to run them at a constant RPM, and then they may be. Is there any collective pitch on these things?
No.
So this is where I've only just opened up. So this is the Alia, right? This is the Alia
250
model, and it doesn't actually show us having any ailerons. So it's all done with that Lua script, and I haven't yet looked into the Lua script. You see, it's got no ailerons here, no elevators, etc. And it's got this.
Where are you picking that screen up from, Tridge?
This is called Plane Maker. So you have to open something called Plane Maker. Okay. So you've got this Plane Maker, and Plane Maker allows you to edit the model, right? So there's our Alia, and you can go under the expert, which is really a joke for me in X-Plane. I'm not an expert on X-Plane, and you can see the rotors, right? But what I don't know is I haven't yet looked to see whether they're variable pitch or not. If they're variable
No, they're
pitch,
not.
it could
They're
be
not. They're not.
they're fixed
They're
pitch.
not. They're fixed.
All right.
A cool cat
Okay.
that people are asking is a gaming channel, but the point of this is that you can simulate in quite high fidelity and explain what would happen in the real world.
Yeah.
Ardupilot can set up aircraft very nicely in that other one. I've forgotten the name of it.
Yeah.
The model airplane one.
Oh, Real Flight, and others, Gazebo, and JSB Sim, and there's lots of different ones that.
But for nerds like me, I like to imagine what the delivery drone flights or whatever flight might look like, and I simulate it in that. And the handling of VTOL aircraft in X-Plane. X-Plane is a bit weird in some ways. It isn't all that great now, and Tridge is solving it. And if, let's say, you had a use case, a delivery drone use case where you might want to simulate lots and lots of your delivery drones flying down routes, then you could then try that and have 3 or 4 pilots operating them and pull in data from elsewhere if you had such data, and you could look at it in real time. You can pull in ADS-B traffic very easily into X-Plane, so you can pull in other target tracks. So it's very cool. Oh,
the reason I haven't put a lot of effort into X-Plane for this type of thing up till now is this number we're seeing in the top left. This is the frame rate. And for a typical delivery drone might be max takeoff weight, say 30, 40 kilos, something like that, right? And at those scales, you really need the control algorithms to be running at, a couple of 100 hertz. 100 hertz you might get away with. I've got a reasonably fast Windows gaming machine here running this, and I'm getting 42 hertz here, frame rate. So X-Plane is internally, its physics rates can be reasonably fast, but the rate that is available for external control to control those VTOL motors is pathetically slow. I get 400 to 600 hertz in real flight. I get 40 odd hertz on the same machine in X-Plane, which means if you were to try to create a typical, quad plane, 20 kilo, 30 kilo type quad plane, you wouldn't have a high enough control rate to get the control bandwidth to actually fly it with good control. You could probably get it in the air, but it's not going to be good. Whereas the Alia, we can. At least I expect that we will have it, probably by tomorrow. We'll work out which of the magic, thousands of DREFs we need to twiddle to make it properly control. What we can probably do is directly control the RPM. One thing you can do is you put in the override. Well, there's an override to allow you to say, just set the damn RPM of this motor. And that's cheating, right? Because you're not using the engine then, which means you're completely bypassing all of the slew rates and the inertia and everything. You're saying just spin at that RPM instantly, right? It's complete cheating, but we should be able to make it fly with an RPM override. Anyway, with the Alia, 40 hertz should be absolutely ample because it's such a big, heavy beast that its control bandwidth is just tiny. So probably you could fly it at 20 hertz. So anyway, that's the reason why I haven't concentrated on X-Plane up till now. We've supported it, and fixed wing, it's been great. All of that stuff I did with Silent Arrow, you've seen that, that folding wing delivery drone thing. That was all X-Plane, and that works great because it doesn't need high control bandwidth. 50 hertz is absolutely ample for a glider. The videos I've got up there are flying a 747, no problem. Flying a Piper Cub, no problem. It's these VTOL aircraft just don't have the control bandwidth. Anyway, that's it. So if there's any of your listeners that are X-Plane nerds and would like to get involved, we have a X-Plane 12 Discord channel on Ardupilot Discord. So you go to https://ardupilot.org/discord, like that. https ardupilot.org discord, and that will take you to the Ardupilot Discord server. And then within that, we have a X-Plane within the simulation. We have an X-Plane 12 thread, and you can join the august company of Gary and Brandon and me on this channel that we only created a few hours ago. And you can tell me what an idiot I'm being about data refs and why I should do it totally differently, because I am sure I completely misunderstand all this stuff and I'm doing it totally wrong. And I would love somebody to come along and set me to rights, and we'll hopefully create a really good tool for controlling all sorts helicopters and all sorts of weird aircraft like this one and lots of others. We'll just need to create a little data ref file like this to map the channels in Ardupilot, then we should be able to fly just about anything. All good.